Hi everyone, welcome to another Terrain Direct video. This is day 5 of the Fortress Castle build. Quite a bit's gone on since the last day that I was up here working on it, and I've now managed to complete both sides of the curved wall section. There's obviously a little bit of alteration that's going to be needed as and when I go to dry fit the things together. I'm still waiting for one of the sections to finish drying, but I'll take you over onto the bench and show you what I've done. Okie dokie, so as you can see here, this is one of the actual curved wall sections that's been built. Obviously it's not going to go like that as much as I would like it to. That's going to be separated by a separate tower inside, and what I've done is I made a template jig which I could pin into the foam, which is just here, which I then just pressed straight into the polystyrene, and then pretty much just guided that round the hot wire cutter to give me my shapes just there. And so what I've got is I've got one curved section which is there, which will go to one of the round towers just here. So that'll actually lock into place just like that, and then the other section still needs to be trimmed off, and then that'll sit something like that onto, when it gets trimmed it'll sit like that. I wanted to leave the first ones big just so I could play with them, so I could find out where I could actually put them. So next thing, I've gone on to actually doing some practice runs with some of the foam that I'm going to actually wrap around this stuff. As you can see, it's broken just there, but what I've done is I've used 6mm XPS foam. That's the exact same stuff as the blue stuff and the pink stuff, it's just a lot thinner. It's 6mm. I originally tried it with a hot wire cutter to try and get the grooves, but it wasn't working too good, so I went back to the old-fashioned method of a set of scissors, and that gave me the ability to pretty much go all the way around. Obviously this one was going to break anyway because I snapped it earlier, but it still gives me a pretty much good flex all the way around. So what I tried to do then is I tried to score into a pattern. Originally there was another waste piece which I tried with a hot wire cutter. It didn't work very well. It was just a bit too scruffy, so I went with the old-fashioned engraving method. And the one thing that this does allow is it allows the bricks to move with the actual foam as when it gets curved. So what I've done here as well is, while I was playing with that, is I decided to try and put on some polycoat and try and see what the polycoat would look like when it's all settled. Now there is quite a few gaps it's actually started to fill in here with the polycoat. This has actually got quite hard. So that's a very thin coat, and you can still see the colour running through. There's not very much protection in there, to tell you the truth, with only a thin coat. But over here I have actually got quite a substantial coating. So what I tried to do is I then tried to go on, and this is still a little bit wet, is I tried to go on and try it on one of my test pieces for my actual round castle. And as you can see in here, I've completely lost all detail. Even though this was massively deeper than the other one, I've pretty much lost a lot of the detail. But I think that was a fault with the polycoat itself. It seemed to harden far too quick. So I went down and rewatered it down, and it came out a little bit something like that. The one problem that I'm noticing is just inside here. So I'll get this wee little knife here. As you can see, there's like pooling inside, and I'm not very happy with that. The reason why is I don't want to see this pooling effect inside. Same as, obviously that was a mistake when I was actually making the building. This is where the first coat to the last coat sort of went. As I got further round, I started to get a little bit better, but as you can see, there's still a lot of pooling in there, and you can see it's still even wet. So I don't know how I'm going to get around that. I think the polycoat has probably seen better days, because already, even after like 20 minutes, that's the polycoat. It's pretty much turned to like its ice cream sort of state, and that should be, as you can see, it's even sort of cracking as well inside there. So, and when it gets to that thickness, because it should be pretty much like milk in consistency, and as you can see, it's like, well, it's pretty much like goop. So I need to figure out another way of coating these buildings without polycoat, which is a bit of a disadvantage. I don't really want to go and buy more polycoat. Maybe I'm thinking of like watered down plaster, like casting plaster, maybe liquefy it right the way down, and then sort of try and paint it on, and then do like a couple of layers of that, of like really thin, let it dry, and hopefully that will maybe give me a result that I want. I'm going to need to do a couple more tests on that. But suffice to say, the polycoat, even if I try and water it down anymore, it doesn't actually work. So that's about as far as I've got now. The only other two things that I've really got left to do is I've got the gate section to work on, and the actual two combining wall sections to the gate itself. So there's going to be the gate section and the two wee wall sections either side. Once those are constructed, that's pretty much the outer shell of the curtain walls complete. So then we're getting somewhere to close to then starting to engrave all this and getting it ready. So I think I've spoken enough as it is. If you can think of any ways to actually see if we can combat this, to try and work our way on painting something on it to protect it, I'll be pretty much all ears on that one. Other than that, I'm going to say take care, farewell, and happy wargaming.